Hi everyone, welcome back to the Wonder of Anime YouTube channel. My name is Lisa, and for today's video, I am going to be talking about my experience at Otakon this year. So what you're going to see first is this intro here, and then I'm going to splice together like a little vlog that I put together that day, and then I'm going to come back and give you guys my thoughts. This was the second convention that I attended this year. At the time that I attended, definitely was a big convention of that day. Like it was just so overwhelmingly huge. I went to Otakon as press. I applied for a press pass, seeing that I would be there. I would be interviewing the guests that they had, as well as potential attendees, and taking pictures of cosplayers, you know, just my review of the entire experience. As you'll see on this channel, I have done convention reviews in the past as well, and have put together content with that. I was going a lot towards the end of 2019. As y'all know, COVID happened, and then things just kind of turned upside down. With Otakon, I originally had applied in 2019 and got denied as press, which is totally understandable. I didn't have a lot of experience doing at that time, anime content to begin with, much less press type of things. This year I applied as soon as I was able to, once it opened up. And Otakon is located in Washington, D.C., which is about 2.5 hours away from me, 3 depending on traffic. The previous convention, and that I also have a review video for, is BlurredCon, and that was also in DC. For BlurredCon, I was able to secure an Airbnb, so I was able to sleep over and stay the entire weekend. For Otakon, I kind of looked into accommodations late, so I wasn't able to find like a place to stay, and I had a couple other trips coming up, so I wasn't too pressed about not staying. I'm someone who doesn't mind driving, so I was completely happy with just driving the day of, hanging out, and then coming back home. First off, want to say that my experience with Otakon, specifically the press staff, it was 10 out of 10 amazing. I think Otakon had one of the best communications with their people on their press list. that I have ever experienced with anything in general. I've done press for other things that are not anime convention related, and just their communication, how easy they made the application process, the process of securing interviews with the guests that they had, as well as getting information to the people, the press organizations, was just amazing. I literally felt like I was immediately in the loop. Once I got my approval, the email that I received was so detailed, had a lot of information. You know, if things were coming up, we were made aware of as those things were added onto the list of events and things like that. I also found that their instructions for the things that needed to be done in terms of like getting interviews with guests were very clear, and the person behind press at Otakon was just 10 out of 10. Like, she was amazing. It's very easy, even after, you know, post Otakon, just letting her know like what content I'll be have coming out and things like that. Just super amazing, understanding. Chef's kiss, 10 out of 10. The day of my trip to Washington, D.C., as you'll see in the little blog, I drove down there, and when I got there, I definitely was feeling very overwhelmed. As y'all know, it's COVID time, so a lot of us aren't used to being in big crowds. I know for me personally, getting back into the con scene has definitely been an adjustment, just because first of all, I was a homebody to begin with, COVID, no COVID. That's just who I am personally. And then, you know, throwing conventions where there are a lot of people, and Otakon specifically, which is such a powerhouse in the Northeast DC area specifically. You know, people go to Otakon and have been going to Otakon for years. One of the major conventions on the East Coast. You know, it is definitely like not something to play with. When I arrived to DC, my GPS was set for the convention center, and being at BlurredCon a couple weeks ago, I already kind of knew that like parking was going to be something that I was going to have to, you know, find and get used to. But when I rolled up to the convention center, the line to get in was just around the building, and immediately I was like thrown in for a loop, and just it was crazy. Luckily, with the instructions from press, you know, we didn't have to stand in the line. There were different instructions for people on the press list on how to get in, but definitely felt very overwhelmed when I got there, just personally based on like my anxiety and stuff like that, and seeing a lot of people. Once I, you know, made it to the door, to the people that were in charge of like letting people in, the staff was very understanding. They knew what had to be done. They knew the instructions for the press, you know, showed them my email, showed them the credentialed things that I needed to show, and I was able to get in, get a press pass, and we were good, you know, we were good to go. Immediately, I went to the press lounge. It took me a little bit to find the press lounge because just the layout of the convention center, for me, it was very weird, just in general as a convention center, but I was able to interview Rico Fajardo. I'll be sure to have those links as as press. And I was the experience of Otakon putting that press interview together. There were some other guests that they had that I did have on my list to interview. Unfortunately, because I was going just that one day, other accommodations weren't able to be made, but they did have this really good system that, you know, they had your phone number. If an event like somebody canceled or something came up, they would let you know if you were around that you could go interview XYZ person. I thought they had a great selection of guests, a lot of popular voice actors, in my opinions, voice actors who are currently in current things like My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, etc. So I thought that was awesome. And personally for me, they had a diverse list of guests where people from different backgrounds. As a person of color, that is something that is very important to me. I was happy to see that Otakon had that. The convention itself, there was a lot of people. I will say I felt the space was big, but I still felt like there was just a lot of people. It was a huge convention. And with COVID, again, not used to being around people, but I will say that cosplayers, people in the convention, like everybody was wearing masks, you know, in areas that was able for people not to be up on each other. I felt like people did a good job with that. Other areas, for example, where the dealer's room is, where they had like anime stuff for you to buy, it felt a lot more congested, but they did, I feel like, space things out in a good way. And there was a really good selection, a lot of vendors. One of my favorite things about Otakon was that they had a lot of manga vendors, and I didn't get any manga just because I kind of didn't find anything that I was looking for specifically at Otakon. But I was with Naja of Blurry Otome, and she was able to walk away with a lot of things that she was looking for. So they definitely had a big selection. They had like 3 or 4 different manga vendors, and we went around to each one. There was also the artist alley, and there was a lot of different diverse artists, a lot of different things. I felt like it was a really good selection of, you know, if you're looking to buy something. I ended up buying something. I'll put a little picture of me with it here, of a Full Metal Alchemist poster in like samurai style, and it was just so awesome. I definitely had to have it. And I think I bought a sticker too. They did have a lot of panels, as well as like a jam-packed schedule of things to do. Specifically at Otakon, I did not attend any of the panels. I did have some in mind, but just kind of like when I got there and then just hanging out, and it was very, very busy at Otakon. But I didn't feel like I missed out by not going to the panels. I also was able to meet up with 2 friends, Naja, Blurry Otome, and then my brother-in-law. So I really enjoyed the fact that, like, you know, people from all around came to Otakon. Overall, this Otakon is the second convention that I attended this year, and it definitely was a lot. It was an awesome convention. I think they put it together so well, and I definitely enjoyed it. I definitely would have enjoyed it more had I been there the whole weekend, I feel like, and just, you know, wasn't feeling so overwhelmed. But I'm okay with the fact that I felt overwhelmed. Not so much because I think the overwhelmingness part of it, just a lot of people, is just because we have not been around a lot of people. Prior to this year, you know, when I was at previous conventions in 2019, there definitely were, you know, I've been to conventions of that size, so that I'm used to. But after a year and a half of being locked down, where you're not usually around people, it kind of got to me, and those are my own personal reasons. With everything going on, and just, you know, coming back after not having a convention last year and doing it in a way where people are wearing masks, and I feel like I didn't see any issues with people not wearing masks. And I think the nerd community, a lot of us are pretty like cool about that. So I thought it went very well. I look forward to attending Otakon in you know, future years to come. And I am hoping, you know, the conventions aren't, you know, shut down again. But it was a really good experience, and I am glad that I went. Again, I wish I would have planned it better and stayed for longer, but just, you know, July and August, there's a lot of conventions happening, especially back to back. So I didn't prioritize Otakon as I did with other conventions, but probably in next year's, I may change my priority and make Otakon one where I do stay the entire weekend. I hope that you enjoyed this mishmash of a review vlog style of Otakon. If you have any other questions, please be sure to leave them in the comments. Again, I really enjoyed Otakon. I'll be sure to link the blog post where I post all my cosplays from the pictures that I took from Otakon. There was just so many amazing cosplayers, as well as link to my other videos interviewing Rico, who plays Muriel in My Hero Academia. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.